Hi, my name is Mike Sanders, and today I'm here to talk to you about fraud in the IT department. Okay, so today what I'm going to specifically go over is what is fraud and how it relates to the IT department, different types of organizations, and how the IT department would be organized within that organization, and ways to prevent fraud. I've also included handouts that include information that I found on the internet that I used primarily to make this. I didn't fully cover that in this presentation, so there's a little bit extra material in there for you. Okay, so first of all, what is fraud and how does it relate to the IT department? Fraud, defined by Wikipedia, is deception in order to gain in some unlawful way. So fraud in the budgeting process could be things like over padding the budget, or maybe lying about things that you spent money on. Fraud in an organization can be a little bit more encompassing, can include things like accounting, like doctoring books to lie about income made to pocket, making up vendors so that you can basically bill the organization for a service that was never actually performed, or you could take a kickback for issuing orders to a vendor that doesn't really, or a vendor that you are generating surplus inventory. Okay, so now how would fraud relate to the IT department? Basically, this would be like taking computer equipment home for personal use, or perhaps ordering software for personal use, like say ordering a resume builder software so you can look for another job. Okay, so now different types of organizations and how the IT department is organized. Okay, so first of all, we have small and medium-sized organizations. A small organization would be something like about 50 employees, maybe a little bit smaller than that. In this type of an organization, you probably wouldn't really have IT staff. You might, depending. If it's like less than 10, I doubt it, but if there's more, then you might. A lot of times in this, you'll have like outsourced IT companies coming in, like contract labor, or you might have like the owners trying to figure out how their computers work and how their systems work, and then basically when it breaks, they'll hire a guy to come in and fix it. Next, we have our medium-sized organizations. These go up to about 250 employees. These, you might have a network administrator and a couple of employees, but you're not going to have a very complicated IT department. Next, we have our large organizations. These are companies that are over 250 employees. These are your companies like Walmart, Wells Fargo, Bank of America. These most likely will have somebody named the Chief Information Officer, or a CIO. This guy's probably going to be in charge of everything that has to do with information technology in the business. It might be labeled as something like Vice President of Technology, or you might just have the manager of the department. Depends on how they name the position. A company like this is probably going to have several different employees and different levels of employees in the IT department. You might have like level 1 support, level 2 support. Basically, the larger organizations is where fraud is going to be more prevalent. Fraud is easier when the organization is more complicated. When you're dealing with a small organization like a mom and pop shop, usually the owners are directly involved in all the computer purchasing, so you're not going to see too much of like fraud happening at that level. When it gets very complicated and bureaucratic, where you have lots of paperwork and things and there's lots of people involved, there can be fraud if it's not done correctly. Which brings me to my next point, which is ways to prevent fraud. Okay, so first of all, you want to have a separation of authority. What this means is you don't want to have like the person who is making the orders, paying the invoices, or even receiving the goods. You want to have those as three separate people. The reason that this is a good idea is because it's kind of harder to get collusion among three people as it is to get it with just one. If you have one person who's making all the decisions and getting everything together, well, it's very easy for him to have a conflict of interest with the organization and want to take money if he has low morals. Okay, so next off, we have proper checks and balances. It's always good to have somebody going over budgets and to overlook the budgeting process, like budget planning and then budget execution and then budget control at the end, going through how the budget was performed. There should be reasons for what he bought. That should be documented. Okay, then the next point is good supervision. It's very important that the person who makes the budget, issues the budget, and controls the budget is supervised by somebody. This person can't just be completely autonomous. If he's completely autonomous, again, that also conflicts with separation of authority, but a fraud can happen very easily in a situation like that. Next, we want a good audit trail. This is very good just for the IRS is concerned, because if you ever get audited, the IRS is going to want to know why you spent money and where you spent money. But this is also good from the standpoint of preventing fraud, because there's got to have to be a paper trail if you have a good audit trail, and that's a lot of extra work to actually commit the fraud. A lot of people won't try it because then they'll get caught and they could go to prison or get fired, and a lot of repercussions. If there's no audit trail and the guy just has to tell the boss how much to spend and where to spend it, then it's very easy for him to say, I want an extra laptop, and just basically make the laptop become missing, because you're probably dealing with a company with hundreds of people working. So good audit trail is definitely a good thing to have. Okay, so in conclusion, what I covered today was what fraud is and how it relates to the IT department. I covered the different types of organizations and how the IT department would be organized and how this would relate to fraud. And I also covered ways to prevent fraud.